The landscape of modern television is often criticized for being overly polished, where every gesture and witty remark feels calculated by a team of producers. Yet occasionally, a dynamic emerges that defies this cynicism, leaving audiences to wonder where the script ends and reality begins. This is the case with the enduring professional and personal rapport between Blake Shelton and Kelly Clarkson. For years, their interactions on the set of The Voice were characterized by a rapid-fire exchange of roasting, banter, and competitive displays. While viewers often question whether this chemistry was a product of expert editing or a genuine bond, a singular moment of unfiltered commentary shifted the public perception entirely. It was not a planned segment or a carefully orchestrated interview designed to garner headlines. Instead, it occurred during a casual exchange on Kelly Clarkson's talk show, appearing to be nothing more than a routine conversation between two veteran performers. The atmosphere was lighthearted, and the audience was already primed for the usual playful jabs. Kelly, with her signature quick wit, began teasing Blake about his music and his choice of promotional tie-ins. Blake, ever the master of the laid-back persona, leaned into the critique with his trademark dry humor. It was a familiar dance that fans had grown to love over several television seasons. Then, with no preamble, Blake remarked that the two were so deeply connected through their mutual circles that they were basically inbred. The comment landed with an unexpected impact, causing a momentary pause in the room. It was not the kind of polished, safe remark typical of celebrity interviews. It felt like a thought that had bypassed the usual mental filters. Kelly's reaction was not the practiced response of a host trying to keep a show on track. Instead, she broke character entirely, laughing with a sense of genuine spontaneity that felt raw and deeply human. This interaction was the catalyst for a broader realization. That specific joke acted as a lightning rod, forcing observers to acknowledge that their rapport was not merely a construction of the television industry. Behind the quips and the competitive spirit, there existed a complex, invisible network of shared management, songwriters, and family connections. When Blake doubled down on his claim, casually listing the ways their professional and personal worlds had been overlapping for over a decade, it suddenly made sense why their on-screen rhythm was so seamless. They were not two strangers meeting on a stage, they were longtime companions. The truth is that their connection predates their time as co-coaches by many years. To understand their dynamic, one must look at the influence of Brandon Blackstock. Before he was known as the center of a high-profile divorce, Blackstock was a pillar of Blake Shelton's professional life, serving as his manager. This professional bridge established a foundation long before the red chairs of The Voice were ever set up. Kelly and Blake were not navigating a random work relationship. They were working within the same ecosystem of industry professionals, which inherently created a sense of familiarity that rarely exists between two major stars. Furthermore, the social overlap was significant. Blake was once married to Miranda Lambert, and through that circle, Kelly and Miranda established their own rapport. The intersection of their lives was constant: shared environments, shared challenges, and the unique pressure of navigating the music industry. As Blake himself has noted, their shared backgrounds and common experiences made it difficult to ever run out of things to talk about. This context is vital because it reframes their television arguments not as theatrical hostility, but as the friction of two people who have been in each other's orbit for a very long time. Perhaps most revealing is Blake's admission regarding his involvement in Kelly's personal life. He openly discussed encouraging Brandon Blackstock to pursue marriage with Kelly, a gesture that demonstrates a level of emotional investment far beyond a casual workplace friendship. This realization adds a layer of irony, and in some ways tragedy to their history, as the same person who cheered for that union would eventually witness its difficult dissolution. However, the importance of this detail lies in the proof of their loyalty. Their friendship was not an accidental byproduct of a television contract, it was a relationship built on years of shared history. When the marriage between Kelly and Brandon eventually fell apart, the pressure on this friend group became immense. A typical celebrity divorce is a media circus, but this was a situation where the walls of their private circle began to collapse. Blake found himself in a position that would have tested any friendship. He had a professional duty to his longtime manager, yet he possessed a decade-long history with Kelly. In such a high-stakes scenario, people usually retreat to a neutral position to protect their own interests, but the documentary evidence of their actions suggests a different path was taken. Instead of creating distance, Blake remained a steady presence in Kelly's life during her most difficult period. While the media clamored for a comment or a side to be taken, those close to the pair noted that Blake checked in and offered support away from the cameras. This level of consistency is exactly why their television banter never felt forced. When they mocked each other on The Voice, it was underpinned by an unspoken understanding that their loyalty to one another was not up for negotiation. It was a bond that existed independently of their public roles. As we look back at their years of television chaos, we see a masterclass in professional intimacy. They would interrupt one another, question each other's musical tastes, and engage in theatrical rivalries that kept the audience entertained. From a distance, it seemed like a carefully curated performance, but when you apply the lens of their long history, the interpretation changes. You aren't watching actors reading a script. You are watching two people who have been through enough professional and personal life events to know exactly how the other will respond to any given prompt. Kelly's personality is famously direct. She carries a "what you see is what you get" mentality that makes her a powerhouse in creative settings. She does not shy away from conflict and is rarely concerned with being the most popular person in the room if it means standing up for her own work. Blake contrastingly uses his humor as a tool for de-escalation. When Kelly raises the intensity, Blake uses a joke to redirect the energy. This interplay is the core of their successful television chemistry, and it works because it is a natural extension of their real-life communication styles. In many ways, their television segments were a low-stakes sandbox for them to engage in the same type of interaction they likely had in private. If Kelly gets excited about an artist, Blake doesn't try to dampen her spirit. He teases her, allowing her to own her excitement while keeping the tone light. If Blake makes a sharp, tactical move, Kelly offers an immediate, unfiltered, and often frustrated reaction. There is no calculation in these moments, no effort to protect a brand image or behave for the cameras because their friendship is already established. The small, easily missed details are often the most telling. The brief glances, the shared laughter that happens a split second before a joke is even fully formed, these are the hallmarks of a deep connection. These reactions cannot be rehearsed or directed. They are the result of thousands of hours spent in the same circles. When audiences noticed these patterns, it created a sense of relief. It validated the feeling that what they were watching was a reflection of something substantial, not just a gimmick designed to boost ratings for a singing competition. The viral spread of Blake's inbred comment was not just about the joke, it was about the confirmation. Fans had been waiting for a moment that acknowledged the invisible strings connecting these two. The internet reaction was overwhelmingly positive, not because people were shocked but because they felt heard. It was as if the audience had been conducting its own research for years, piecing together the timeline of their shared management and personal intersections, and finally felt justified in their assessment of the dynamic. Furthermore, this connection continued to play out even when they were apart. Kelly's recent performances in Las Vegas, where she officiated a vow renewal and navigated a surprise proposal, showed a woman comfortable in her own skin, still utilizing the same style of humor that she and Blake often displayed together. During those shows, she even made references to Blake's past as an officiant, showing that he remained a permanent fixture in her internal narrative. He was not just a coworker, he was a reference point for her worldview. This brings us to the core of why their relationship is so fascinating to analyze. It defies the standard industry definitions of rivalry or professional collaboration. The fact that their dynamic has survived the volatility of a high-profile divorce and the shifting tides of the music business is a testament to the strength of their foundation. They have managed to maintain a connection that is immune to the external structures that usually dictate how celebrities relate to one another. When we consider what Blake admitted in his joking confession, we see that it was actually a moment of clarity. He did not reveal a secret drama, he revealed a structural reality. Their lives have been intertwined at every level for so long that their chemistry is, in fact, an inevitable outcome of their history. It was never a performance because it was never separate from their real-life experiences. Their bond is a rare example of a long-term, layered connection that has been tested by pressure and found to be remarkably resilient. As Kelly prepares for future projects and new chapters, the history she shares with people like Blake will continue to shape how she navigates the industry. Even when they are not in the same room, their histories are folded into each other. For the audience, this is a unique pleasure. To watch two people who know each other this well is to watch a masterclass in interpersonal dynamics. It provides a sense of continuity in an industry that is defined by constant change and fleeting associations. We must ask ourselves what this means for the future of entertainment. Does it prove that audiences are more perceptive than we think? Or does it suggest that there is a hunger for authenticity in an age where everything feels mass-produced? Perhaps the answer is both. By following the breadcrumbs of their shared history, we are reminded that the best television moments aren't created by writers, they are created by the genuine experiences of the people on screen. Their secret was always right in front of us, hidden in plain sight. Ultimately, the analysis of their relationship reveals that we might have been reading them wrong, but in the best possible way. We thought we were watching a rivalry, but we were watching a family-like bond. We thought we were watching an act, but we were watching a history. As we continue to witness their careers unfold, one thing is certain, their connection remains one of the most compelling stories in modern music. Whether or not they choose to collaborate in the future is almost secondary to the reality that they already have something much more significant, a genuine, lifelong connection. The industry of fame is a complex machine, often masking the gears of professional connections with the sheen of stardom. For observers of Blake Shelton and Kelly Clarkson, the initial narrative was one of two distinct musical paths meeting by chance on a television stage. However, as documented history shows, their convergence was far from accidental. It was the result of a meticulously woven infrastructure of shared managers, shared songwriters, and a tightly clustered social group that functioned as a singular unit within the broader landscape of the entertainment industry. To appreciate the depth of this connection, one must understand how circles function in high-level music management. In the case of these two artists, the common thread was Brandon Blackstock. For a significant portion of his career, Blackstock was the person managing the day-to-day operations for Blake Shelton. When he entered a personal relationship with Kelly Clarkson, it did not just unite two people, it effectively merged two of the biggest spheres of influence in country and pop music. This is a common phenomenon in the industry, yet it is rarely as transparently documented as it was with this particular group. When people discuss industry chemistry, they often mistake it for a fleeting spark. In reality, chemistry is frequently the byproduct of shared jargon, shared hardships, and the unspoken shorthand that develops after years of working with the same team members. Blake and Kelly were speaking the same language long before they sat in those red chairs because they were reading from the same playbook. Every time they appeared on screen, they were bringing years of backstage conversations and industry gossip with them. This history explains the comfort level that consistently confused viewers. Why was there never a moment of genuine coldness or professional distancing? Because they shared the same foundations. When you work with the same creative partners and endure the same scrutiny from the media, you form a defensive perimeter around your professional life. That perimeter was built by both Blake and Kelly over their respective careers, and by the time they were paired on television, they were already part of the same team. The role of the shared manager is often undervalued by the public, but it is the primary reason why industry figures are able to pivot quickly into personal friendships. If your manager is the one negotiating your contracts, planning your tour, and handling your public image, they are essentially the gatekeeper of your professional reality. Because Blake and Kelly shared this gatekeeper, their worlds were never truly separate. Their paths were aligned by necessity, creating a baseline of trust that allowed them to be vulnerable and, more importantly, to be humorous with one another. As their careers continued to ascend, the pressure of maintaining these connections grew. Yet, the evidence suggests that they did not see their professional overlap as a burden. Instead, they utilized it as a source of stability. When you are operating at the level of global stardom, finding people who understand the specific stresses of your existence is nearly impossible. Blake and Kelly served as that sounding board for one another, and their on-screen banter was a public display of a private reliance they had on each other. The narrative of their rivalry on The Voice was a masterfully crafted element of their television persona, but it was successful specifically because it wasn't fake. It was a play acting of a dynamic they were already comfortable with. You cannot mock someone's music taste, their coaching style, or their personality without first establishing a profound level of mutual respect. If that respect hadn't existed, those moments would have felt hostile or mean-spirited. Instead, they felt like a friendly roast between two people who were secure in their standing with each other. One of the most fascinating aspects of their history is how they navigated the transition from separate paths to a shared public identity. For years, they were simply two successful artists operating in the same general ecosystem. Then, the television platform essentially turned them into a duo. This transition is usually where these relationships break down. The proximity on set, the competitive nature of the game, and the need to maintain a persona for the audience can erode even the strongest friendships. Yet they manage to thrive. The explanation for this success lies in their shared values. Both Blake and Kelly possess a strong Midwestern or Southern sensibility that emphasizes humor and resilience. They value the ability to laugh at oneself, and they prioritize sincerity over polish. This shared value system is what kept them anchored when the television production environment tried to shape their dynamic. They refused to play the role of the polite colleagues, opting instead to be their authentic selves. This authenticity is what led to the moment that eventually went viral. When Blake made his comment about their deep-rooted connections, he was acknowledging that their bond had survived the industry's tendency to create artificial barriers. He was saying in essence that they were part of the same tribe. The audience recognized the truth in that statement because it aligned with everything they had observed about their behavior over the years. They saw two people who were not just coworkers but who shared a life history. In the world of music management, there's a saying that you are the company you keep. By that metric, Blake and Kelly were reinforcing each other's status by maintaining their connection. Every high they shared and every low they navigated together added to the tapestry of their relationship. This is why their interactions feel different from those of other celebrity pairings. They have a shared narrative arc that spans over a decade, making every moment they share on screen feel like a continuation of a much larger ongoing story. Critics might argue that their friendship is merely a byproduct of business convenience, but the evidence of the last few years contradicts this. When life turned difficult, specifically during the high-conflict divorce proceedings that Kelly faced, Blake's support was not tied to his professional contract. He acted as a friend in the private sphere. That is the ultimate test of any relationship, and it is a test that their bond passed with flying colors. It solidified their status as genuine allies. This reveals a deeper truth about the nature of celebrity relationships. The most enduring ones are those that are built on a foundation of shared history, not shared success. Success can be fleeting and fickle, but the memory of supporting someone through a hard time is permanent. That is the bedrock upon which Blake and Kelly's friendship sits. It is what allows them to be loud, chaotic, and playful on camera, because they know they have each other's backs when the cameras are off. When we consider the why behind their behavior, we have to look at the psychological reward they receive from their interaction. It's not just about entertainment, it's about feeling seen. When you are a major star, being seen for who you actually are, not the image you present, is a rare commodity. Blake and Kelly provide that for one another. They hold each other accountable, they challenge each other, and they keep each other grounded in a way that fame otherwise prevents. This is why their on-screen chemistry is so difficult to replicate. Producers can try to cast dynamic duos on competition shows, but you cannot fabricate the level of history that these two possess. That history is a tangible energy that the camera picks up, and it's why audiences remain so invested in their dynamic. They aren't just watching a show, they are watching a relationship that has weathered time and circumstance. The future of their partnership is not entirely clear, but the foundation they have built is permanent. Even if their paths diverge professionally, the reality of their shared history will remain a defining feature of their careers. They have become part of each other's lore. When fans look back at the history of the music industry in the 21st century, the relationship between Blake Shelton and Kelly Clarkson will undoubtedly be highlighted as a key example of a genuine, unconventional, and resilient bond. This analysis helps us move past the surface-level speculation and into a better understanding of what makes high-profile friendships tick. It's not about the glitz or the headlines, it's about the consistency of support and the shared language of a long-term connection. Blake and Kelly prove that even in the most manufactured environments, authentic relationships can flourish if they are built on a bedrock of mutual respect and long-standing trust. The lesson here is simple: stop looking for the act and start looking for the history. When you view their interactions through the lens of their long-standing professional and personal ties, everything clicks into place. Their roasts are playful because they are safe, their support is profound because it is proven. The inbred comment wasn't a confession of a secret, it was a humorous acknowledgement of a reality that has been hiding in plain sight for years. Ultimately, their relationship is a success story, not just in terms of their careers but in terms of their personal lives. They have navigated the treacherous waters of fame without losing their grip on what matters, the people who know them best. As long as they continue to respect that history, their influence on each other and on the culture of the shows they work on will remain a powerful and positive force for years to come.